I want to speak today about the greatest of these is love. What did we just celebrate now Wednesday? Valentine's Day, so we started to speak on love. There's lots of different people that have a different idea about love. For example, Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump said, Jenny, I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. There's other people just like Forrest Gump that think they know what love is. Let's look at that. Here's Carl, he's 5 years old. He says love is when a girl uses perfume and a boy uses aftershave and they go out together and smell one another. I think it's legitimate, yeah. Lawrence 4, she says love is when you know that your older sister loves you because she gives you all her old clothes and she has to go out and buy new ones. Reality's going to sink him on us another day. Chris is 6, he says love is when you go out and offer your potato chips to someone without waiting for the other person to offer his. That's good, that's love for you. Chris is 8, he says love is when mommy sees daddy all sweaty and dirty but still tells him you are still more handsome than Robert Redford. Noelle 7, she says love is when you tell a boy that he's wearing a beautiful shirt even though he wears the same one every day. So it's just like these beautiful kids and Forrest Gump. We all have our own ideas on love. And I think these guys, if I ever want sound advice on love, I'm probably going to go to these 8-year-olds and 4-year-olds. They probably know more than I do. But there's one person who does know a little bit more about love than all of us. And his name is Jesus. So let's read in the Bible what Jesus says about love. We're going to turn to Mark chapter 12 to read about the greatest of all commandments. Mark 12 and read 28 to verses 31.
One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these.
Amen. The context of this passage is it's a few days before Passover, before the crucifixion of our Lord Jesus Christ. And he's busy in Jerusalem. He's talking to all the religious leaders, the Pharisees, Sadducees, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers of the law. And they're all trying to ask him tricky questions and trying to incriminate him. Because they wanted to fall. That they would find out once and for all that Jesus is a fake and a fraud. He's not the Messiah. He's not the Son of God who he claims to be. So they start asking all these questions and Jesus cannot be caught. He answers everyone perfectly. He is God. And then one of the teachers of the law stands up and says to him, Teacher, Rabbi, what is the greatest of all commandments? That's a good question. And you might be thinking, well, it's got to be one of the 10 commandments, right? But not necessarily, because in this verse, the 2 that Jesus quoted was not part of the 10 commandments. So there must have been another set of commandments that this man was referring to. You see, the Old Testament, especially the first 5 books of the Bible, is called the books of the law. Do you know who they were written by? Moses. Moses wrote the first 5 books. And in these books are lots of commandments. Not only 10 commandments, as in Exodus 20, but thousands of commandments. So the Jews combined all these commandments into a set of laws. 613 laws that they had to abide by. 240 were good. 248 exactly were good. So this is what you must do. 365 of those laws were bad. Do not do this. Do not eat pork. Do all those things. So out of these 613 laws, this is what this man was referring to. But you know what? The Jews had more laws. They had another 1,400 oral laws. Can you believe that? So they had 613 written laws to abide by, and they had 1,400 oral laws. So let me explain to you a bit about how the Jewish scriptures work and their religious duties. It's broken up into 2 sections, written and oral. The written one is called the Tanakh, and then we'll see the first 5 books is called the Torah. Everyone say Torah. Torah. It's a good one to remember. The first 5 books is the books of the law, Torah, teaching. And then we'll see the 630 laws, the commandments that this man was referring to. On the other side, we'll see what's called the Talmud. And this is the oral tradition. I said there's 1,400 oral laws that they had to abide by. Once these oral laws started to be written down, it became known as the Mishnah. Everyone say Mishnah. Ah, you guys are learning about Hebrew now, aren't you? Torah and Mishnah. And then the Mishnah basically is just a commentary on these laws. Just in case the Jews didn't exactly understand what God meant when He said, "Thou shalt not kill," they commented on that. He said, "Okay, you're allowed to kill before sunset and after sunset and on weekends." Alright, so that's what this was. This was a commentary on this law, and it's still in use today. 613 laws that the Jews have to religiously abide by. It's all or nothing. So now you have a bit of context, a bit of background to when this man stood up and said, "Jesus, what is the greatest of all commandments?" He was asking, what is the greatest of those 613? Is there one that we should really highlight and prioritize in our life? And then Jesus answered, and He said very simply, love God. And by the way, there's another one, love others. Out of all of these religious laws and commandments, He boiled it down to two single, beautiful, divine truths. Love God and love your neighbor. We can go further. He boiled all these 613 laws down to one word. And that word is love. Even Paul speaks about love in Corinthians. He speaks, love is not jealous, love is kind, is not boastful. It's the same kind of love that Jesus is talking about. Do you know that there's not only one word for love in the Bible? There's 4 different Greek words for love. The one is eros. Eros is we get our word erotic. I don't have to tell you what that's about, right? Yeah. Alright, the second one is storge. Storge means you have a love for things. I love this chair, I love this church, I love my car. And then there's another one called philios. Philios is a brotherly love. Philadelphia, have you heard of Philadelphia, the church or the place? It means brotherly love, because philios means an affection one for another, like we love each other, people around us. But the one that Jesus is talking about is a word called agape. Agape is divine love, unconditional, never-ending, self-sacrificing, all-consuming love. This is the love that God has for each one of us. Even while we were sinners, even when we turned our back on God and cursed Him, He still loved us with agape, unconditional love. Love that supersedes all other types of love. So when this man asked Jesus, what's the greatest of all commandments? Jesus said, love God. But He didn't say that simply, did He? He said, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength. Do you know, Jesus was quoting from the Old Testament. He was quoting a very specific verse in the Old Testament. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 and 5. And He quoted these exact words. He said, hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. Our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and all your mind. You might realize here that there's one missing because Jesus added in mind. He's God, He can do that. Right? This is a very special verse because it's called the Shema. The Shema was a verse that the Jews still use every day in their morning and evening prayers. This is what the Jews say. Every time they pray, they will say this. It's very important in the Jewish mind. It's called the Shema. Shema is Hebrew for year. The first word, year. And then you can see it's Israel. That's just Israel in Hebrew. The Lord our God is Adonai Elohim. And then the Lord is one, is Adonai Echad. That is the Hebrew. If you look back to front, reading it like this is what it says. Shema Yisrael Adonai. You see that very good 4 letters there of Hebrew? That's the name of God. Adonai. Then it says, again you'll see the name, sorry, let me say it again. Shema Yisrael, then it says Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. The last one is Echad. So that is what they say every day in their Hebrew prayers. Shema. This is what God was talking about. But what God's commandment to us was, not the first part, it was this one. This is what you and I have to understand today. How do we love God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our mind? Jesus said it like this. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. What does He mean by that? Does He mean your emotions? No, He doesn't. When the Bible talks about heart, it means commitment. Do you make a commitment to God to love Him? There's no strings attached, no hypocrisy, no precepts. It's just, God, I love you. I'm making a commitment today to love you with all of my heart, across my heart, and hope to die. Have you heard of that before? That's what that means. Jesus, I cross my heart and hope to die. That's how much I will love you today. I love you with all my heart. The book of Chronicles says that the eyes of the Lord search over the whole earth, looking for men and women whose hearts are committed to Him. Notice? The heart. So that's where it starts. Are you committed to God today? Don't just say I love you unless you really, really mean it. It's not second-hand love, it's first-hand, beautiful agape love. The next one is soul. The soul is your emotions. I told you before, the soul is your inner being, the thing that people can't see. Your will, your intellect, your emotions, all the things that make your personality who you are. That is what your soul is. And I really encourage people to worship God and praise Him and love Him with their emotions. I know that in this church we're pretty much reserved, conservative. Anybody else? You don't want to raise your hands because you know that's how bad you are. And I don't mind if you're singing a nice song and you want to clap your hands, you can do that. You stamp your feet like I do. Once now and again you can say amen, hallelujah. I don't mind. That's using your emotions. It's just saying something, so you don't have to always be conservative. But there is a danger of this. In certain churches you will know that there's too much emotion. Especially in Pentecostal, charismatic circles. Here we have too much emotion. Here the services go on for hours, and here we have the songs going on for 30, 40 minutes at a time. And all it does is it works the congregation up into emotional frenzy. For 15, 20 minutes, all they're doing is just like basically nodding back and forth, listening to the music all the time. And that's also dangerous. God wants us to have a balanced life. Worship Him and love Him with all your emotions, but balance it out with something. And that balancing out is with your mind. God is not only an emotional being and made us that way, He's also a thinking being, an intelligent being, and made us the same way. And He wants us to love Him with our mind. How do you do that? By using our minds. It's just by reading the Bible and researching and studying. It's shocking to find out how many Christians don't know the basic tenets of Christianity. Do you know that? They don't know the basic beliefs of what Christians believe or why we believe. There's many Christians who don't know the basic books in the Bible. I'm serious, they don't know. How many books are in the Bible? A lot of you said that because you know now, right? But lots of people don't know that. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're just not interested. Maybe they're just not loving God before their mind. Lots of people don't know that there's a difference between churches. Do you know that there's a fundamental difference in doctrine between the different churches? We don't know that. There's a big difference between Catholics and Protestants. Many Christians don't know what a Protestant is. And that's a shame. When God says use your mind, He's saying that you use your mind to search out something. Search out your faith. Search out the Bible. Study, read, do something. But use your mind and intellect to love me. Don't just go through life like a blind faith zombie. That's not what God wants. He wants thinking people, intelligent people, to love Him with their mind and strength. As you see, we've covered emotions and we've covered intellect. The last thing is your physical body. God wants you to love Him with your body. And how do you do that? By doing good things. Using your body to walk and to talk to people and to feed the poor and to do all their jobs. And whatever you need to do in the body, that is what it means by your strength. So just in this one beautiful commandment, Jesus is summing up everything that we need to do to love God. Use everything that you have, which is your commitment, your emotions. When you want to cry for God, I do that sometimes in church. There's no problem with that. I'm using my emotions to love God. If you want to be happy, then you be happy for God. But don't be afraid of using your emotions to worship God. Your mind, search and study Scripture. It won't harm yourself to get a book about Christianity. Just read about it. It's not going to break the bank or your back. You just read up about what your faith is all about. That is using your mind and your strength. Can we go out and show people that we love God? Can we go and help people physically? Can we go and aid the needy and the poor and those who are needy of God's love? By that you'll be doing all your strength. So this is what God says. Jesus Himself says, love the Lord your God with all your, say it with me, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And that's not all. And Jesus goes on and says, well, we should love our neighbor, we love ourselves. This again, he quoted. He says, love your neighbor as you love yourself from Mark. And you know, it sounds easy, doesn't it? But I like what Peanut says. I love mankind, it's bloody people I can't stand. Humanity is great, but you know, think about it. I say you must love God. God you cannot see, which is sometimes a blessing in disguise, isn't it? And we know that God is good, and He's gracious, and He's kind, and He's just awesome. Now I'm telling you to love your neighbor, the person you can see, who sometimes you don't want to see, who is not good and gracious and kind. Because your neighbor is the one that will turn around and be your enemy. Your neighbor is the one that will hurt you and cause you pain, betray your trust. So when I say love God, you must be thinking, well, this is more difficult, isn't it? You think loving God is difficult? No, no, no. Loving your neighbor, that's where the difficulty comes in. Jesus was quoting from Leviticus. This is what it says. He was quoting this exact verse. He said, do not seek revenge or bear grudge against anyone. This is where this verse comes from. So when people say in New Year, love your neighbor, you've got to get a background to understanding where this comes from. This is what God says. Do not seek revenge or bear grudge against anyone. Very important. Among your people. But love your neighbor as yourself. And then he just adds, I am the Lord. So who's saying this? God's saying this. This is a commandment God's giving us. It's not a suggestion, recommendation. God says, I want you to go around and I want you to love your neighbor with everything you've got. And you know this verse that Jesus said in Mark 12, it's actually parallel with another verse in the Bible from Luke 10. These are parallel passages. It says this, and behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, Teacher, what shall we do to inherit eternal life? This is the teaching of Jesus. Jesus said to him, what is written in the law? What is your reading of it? And the man answered, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and all your mind. Sound familiar? Yes, Mark 12. And your neighbor is yourself. And then he said to him, you have answered correctly, right? Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, said to Jesus, who is my neighbor? This is a parallel verse with Mark 12. Most commentators, if not all, believe they are the same passage. They work together. You'll see a difference is the one was Jesus was talking and the other man is talking. I believe if you put them together, it makes sense. If you look at it like this, it started off with the teacher who was asking Jesus a question. Jesus answered with the 2 commandments. And then the man went on to ask another question and said, well, how do you inherit eternal life? And then he said, well, what have I just told you? And then the guy repeated what Jesus said, the 2 commandments. But this guy went further and he wanted to know, well, Jesus, who is my neighbor? Is there any way I can find a loophole? You know what I mean? Like, can I love only the people of my same color and race? Can I love people under the same religious standing as me? Can I love people who only have the same money as me? He wanted to know exactly for Jesus, who is my neighbor? And you know what the next verse is? The Good Samaritan. Jesus stops it. And he goes in the story of the Good Samaritan. And he says there was once a Jew who was walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. And he was ganged by a group of thieves. And they robbed him of all his money and they left him for dead. So there was this man, a Jewish man, lying there, stripped naked, his money stolen, left for dead. And then he says, a priest walked by. A Jewish priest. And the priest saw the man and walked on the other side of the road. If there's one person in Israel that should have helped this man, it should have been the priest. Because he was the most holy religious man there. He did it. So you can imagine that already ruffled the feathers of the religious leaders listening to Jesus. But then he said there was another man, a Levite. A Levite is where the priests come from. The priests come from the tribe of Levi. So if you don't get a priest, the next base will be a person from the Levitical tribe. He says a Levite walked past. The Levite walked over to the man and saw that he was injured, but didn't do anything. Turned his back and walked on the other side of the road. And then Jesus says, then a Samaritan. Everyone say Samaritan. Samaritan. Whoa, that's a weird. That word, if you don't say that to a Jew, he'll probably hit you. Because the Jews and the Samaritans hated each other. Just by Jesus saying that word, everybody thought, no, how can you say that word? It's like a swear word. You don't say Samaritan. But he said a Samaritan came past. And immediately they stepped back and thought, whoa, what's going on? The Samaritan, they don't like Jews, and Jews don't like Samaritans. They don't even go around the same area. If they had a suburb, let's say they lived in Vanes, I would rather go around Vanes to get to someone else. I wouldn't even go through. That's how bad they were. So he says a Samaritan walked past, and he saw the man, and he had compassion for him. And he went over to the man and he helped him. And he dressed his wounds, and he put him on his donkey and he took him to the inn. And he paid for all his medical fees and everything. Paid for the accommodation. So Jesus mentioned a Jewish priest, a Jewish Levite, and a Samaritan, a Gentile. And then he says to the people there, to this man asking a question, who of these men did right? Who do you think done right? The teacher of the law says, the one who had compassion for the other. He didn't say Samaritan. He just said the one who showed mercy to the man that been beaten. The story of the Good Samaritan. Love your neighbor. Let me tell you a story about this woman. Her name is Kitty Genovese, 28-year-old girl that lived in Queens, in a middle-class suburb of Queens, New York. One day she came home from work, parked her car. She was on her way to a second-story apartment when she was attacked by a man who stabbed her. She cried out, "Ow, I'm hurt!" The light went on in one of the apartment blocks. The light went off. The attacker left. The attacker came back a few minutes later, attacked her again and stabbed her again. Another light went on. She cried out, "Help me, I'm dying!" The attacker left, got in his car, rode away. Only to come back a third time. By this time, Kitty had already crawled. She's hurting, she's in pain, she's dying. She had crawled to the foyer of her apartment. The attacker came back. Third time. Stabbed her again. This time, killed her. Right there and there. The police got in. They eventually investigated. And they found out that no fewer than 38 people saw and witnessed the attack of this girl. 38 people saw her being murdered. Didn't do anything. Nothing. They would lift their finger. Didn't find the police. The only time that the police were called was after that this got in the media and sent shockwaves through America. America thought, what kind of people are these? What's wrong with these people anyway, they said. What's wrong with us? Nothing's changed in 2000. The story that Jesus mentioned, it happened right here. And 38 people saw this woman raped and murdered and didn't do anything. What is wrong with us? What has become of humanity? That we have no sensitivity for people, that we become so unemotional, that we won't get involved in other people's plight. What? Jesus knew. When he said that commandment, he knew this was going to ruffle feathers because we can't do it. That's the bottom line. To love God, that's easy. To love your neighbor, that's a difficulty. That's why God used the episode of the Good Samaritan. And God knew that Kitty would die, and He knew this is what we would become as people. We would throw that one commandment, that beautiful commandment, to love others, out the window. Why? Because we just don't want to get involved in people's plight. If there's someone on your path that needs you, you should get up, step up to the plate and do something about it. Why? Because Jesus commands it. It's not a recommendation, love your neighbor if you don't want to find it. Jesus commands it. He wants you to go out to people of different colors, different races, different religions. He wants you to reach out to people. The Samaritan didn't have to do nothing with the Jew. He went and kicked him in the face. He didn't, because he understood the love of God. And he displayed that love of God on that person. If I can challenge you with one thing today, I know you love God. We all have challenges for loving God. But can I challenge you to love others as God loved you? This is what 1 John says. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down His life for us. There can be no greater love than somebody laying down his life for us. Jesus did it for you and me. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need and has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Have you ever read that before? Wow. That today still blows me away. Wow. I'm going to read it again. If anybody has material possessions, if anybody has needs, ability, resources, and sees a brother or sister, and that brother or sister, some people say that's only the church people. Sounds right. It's only people in the church. So you don't help other people, only help the brothers. I don't believe that. I believe that refers to everybody in humanity. Imagine going to the streets, and you got a bowl of soup in winter, and you're feeding the homeless, and there you go, and your first question is, are you a Christian? The guy says no. Am I right? Are you a Christian? Yes, I am. Are you? No. Hey, who would do that? It's not your brother and sister in the church. It's everybody. You go and you help everybody that you can because God commands it. And He says, if you don't have this pity on you, how then can the love of God be in you? That's what you've got to challenge yourself with today. Do you have the love of God in you? Because you show pity for others. Dear children, let us not love with words and speech, but with actions and truth. You don't just go to a person in the street and say, God bless you. You give him something. You don't just go to an old age home and say, God bless you. You hug them and you hold them and you talk to them and you encourage them. You inspire people to love God as you've loved Him, as He has loved you. You love Him with your actions and truth. Just like Jesus said in the first commandment, love Him with all of your strength. Go out and help someone. There's a story of this man. His name is Father Damien, a Catholic priest, who was a resident priest of the island of Honolulu, of the chain of Hawaiian islands. And he was there, and while he was there, he heard about this island called Molokai. Molokai was a leper colony. Leprosy was big, it's 1800s. So when he contracted leprosy, they would put you on a boat, send you to Molokai, and then you die. They'd throw you on the shore and come back, and there you would just die. There was no doctors, no priests, nothing. You just left there, and you left there to rot and die. This man heard about that, and man, he felt convicted to help his people. But he knew the consequences. If he goes there, he'll probably get leprosy. But over and above that, he put a request through to the bishop and said, listen, I want to go and be a priest at Molokai. Reluctantly, they said, okay. So they sent him there. Father Damien went there to Molokai, and he started to build shelters for the people. He started to nurse their wounds. He started to bury them. Remember, before that, they used to just die where they lay. There you died, and that's where you stayed. He used to have burial services for them. When people came onto the island, we used to have a royal welcome for them. He built a little church, inspired and encouraged them. Eventually, he did contract leprosy. And 12 years after he landed there, in 1898, he died. He died, a leper, for the lepers. But what a great and powerful example of a good Samaritan. He didn't have to go there, but he wanted to because he has so much compassion and care and love for his people. That's what God puts in our hearts. We should not be desensitized, apathetic to the plight of other people. We should show care and compassion and love for them, just like this man. He went there and he sacrificed all to show God's greater love in him to others. That will be my prayer for you today. Love God with all your soul and all your heart, all your mind and all your strength. But right behind that, that means nothing if you're not going to love your neighbor as yourself. Even God says, how can you not pity someone and still say you got the love of God in you? My challenge to you today is to leave this church to have a new realization, a new understanding of what love is and what our challenge and commandment is from God. That we love Him with everything we've got. And I know sometimes it's difficult to do that. I really encourage people to have quiet times with God. Who has a quiet time with God? Can you put up your hands? If you don't, then it's not the end of the world. I just like to get a good feel of it. And sometimes difficult. I mean, people work. I mean, I work 8 hours a day. I don't just pop up here on a Sunday, by the way. I have a full-time job. So I work Monday to Friday, and then I still got kids, and I still go to old age home, and I still got weddings and funerals. So if there's one person that knows, time is of a priority, I do. But I make time for God. 8 o'clock every night is my time for God. It sounds weird. Me and God have an appointment at 8 o'clock. I go into my study, open my Bible, I read. I get engaged in the Word, and I pray. I pray for you, I pray for the old age homes, I pray for people. And that's my time with God. But you know what? God made time for you, you can do for Him. Just go out of your way and make some time for God in the day. Because the rest of the day you might not get that opportunity. I don't have the time during the day to just open up my Bible. Imagine me in a sales meeting with all the managers, and I just want to open up my Bible. I'm just going to read Leviticus now. Well, I'm out of here, I'm going to pray for half an hour. You know what my boss will say to me? He'll say, go pray for another job. That's what he'll say. You can't do this, it's not reality to do that. So I know my time during the day is very constrained to give my love and adoration and worship to God. But I do find time. The biggest place I love God is in worship. You know that. All these songs that we sing here, I've got them all on my phone. Who's got a phone here? Put up your hands if you've got a phone. A smartphone. Any normal smartphone. I know you got a phone. You can put all of those songs on your phone, do you know? I've got all of these songs, I've got hundreds of Christian songs. And every morning I listen to the songs. And that's what carries me through the day, you know that. Because I don't have time to pray to God and read the Bible all the time. But I always listen to his music. In the morning, in the bar, and on the way to, when I drop my kid off at Mere College. My son Jason doesn't like to talk in the mornings. He's very, very quiet. I won't say grumpy because he doesn't like that word, but he's very quiet. So I take him to school in the morning and he's quiet and he tells me not to talk. And I'm a talker. He says, don't talk. Daddy, I'm thinking. Whatever he's thinking about, I don't know. So what I do to compensate that is I put some music on. So I put my phone on, I look for a song. Sometimes he recommends a song. I'll put on How Great Is Our God. And on the way to school, I'll be singing, How Great Is Our God. Sing with me, how great. You know what? That does something to you because even though he doesn't know it, what is the song that's going to be in his mind the whole day? How great is our God. So worship is a big part of my life. Even at work, I have a laptop and I have the privilege to listen to music. So when things really get too tough for me, I just flip out and I go into bed. I do my work, but I just listen to gospel music. And just like, it does wonders for me. So love God. Love Him with everything you have. But just as important, go out there and love others. Because by doing that, you'll not only change your Christian life personally, but you'll go out there and you'll change the world for Jesus. My challenge to you is, will you love God and will you love others? In Jesus' name. Amen. Let us sing our last song. Actually, before we can sing the last song, I forgot about this song. Let me just add this in here because this, I think, is pertinent. You'll be blessed by it. Jesus, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. As I have loved you, love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples. You know what Jesus is saying? How does people know that you are followers of Jesus? By coming to church? No. By having a Bible under your arm? No. By being a member of this church? Maybe. No. You know how people will see that you are disciples of Jesus? You have love one another. Whatever you've heard today, remember this. And this will carry you through the day. Jesus says, go out and love people. By doing that, you'll show His love in you. Let us sing our last song. It's called Warrior.